The book offers suggestions on political campaign etiquette for both candidates and journalists. That 20-minute reception is next. Speakers include heads of the Brookings Institution and the Pew Charitable Trust, which helped fund the project.
Mr. President, what a pleasure to meet Mr. President.
King of New York.
How nice of you to come, sir.
How you doing?
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Senator, how about if we get a picture of the three of you together? You want to be in the middle?
You could be in the middle.
All right. Right this way. Put on your jacket.
Oh, yeah. There you are. Has your vacation come to an end?
Oh, I've been teaching now 3 weeks.
I think I was probably the last person
So, I mean, it's not heading.
to leave the allegation. I was told it's done. He said, well,
United States,
we did
get
it.
to that somewhere else.
It absolutely made no sense to me.
Gilbert Stewart, that was?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. You think they made...
They honor for things. They used to call them this $20 bill.
All right.
Every time you ran out of money.
You remember Brad Patterson? Oh, yeah, I just saw Brad. Yeah, Brad was good. Very nice
You were never in there,
Wow.
This is a day of celebration for Steve. It's also a very serious and somber day on Capitol Hill, and I couldn't help but thinking that Steve and Judith's rules of engagement are going to be called for in the days and weeks and months ahead here on Capitol Hill, making the timing of the publication of this volume all the more compelling. We will have a few words from a few colleagues, beginning with Michael Armacost, the president of Brookings. Mike.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Senator Moynihan, for hosting this splendid affair. I'd like to thank Rebecca Reimel for generous financial support that made this project possible, and also a lot of thoughtful advice that came from her and her staff, especially Paul Light, in the evolution of this project. Most particularly, it's a matter of immense pride for me as president of Brookings to stand in this august body, pay tribute to a genuine superstar at Brookings for more than 25 years. As some of you have probably heard it said, I trust in jest, that Brookings books are books which once you put them down, you cannot pick them up. And I don't believe that's true. But if you do, just try this little slender volume. It's a marvelous antidote to that kind of misinformation. For about 80 years, our mission at Brookings has been to try and help improve the quality of our institutions, their performance, by analyzing emerging policy problems and offering practical remedies for them in language that's comprehensible to the general public. And I think this is an exemplary Brookings project. God knows the problem is a big one, an important one, and nobody knows that more than those of you in the room. You can't peruse this book for more than a few minutes without realizing what historical knowledge and practical experience Steve brings to the analysis of that problem. And rather than being just an observer, he's offered some remedies. And the guidelines, at least to me, seemed invariably compelling by the sheer force of the logic and decency and fairness which they reflect. So I hope that this will be one of our big bestsellers, and I hope it'll not only be read by the general public, but by politicians, and I hope they'll take it seriously. And if they don't, I hope all the journalists in the room will help hold them accountable. To you, Steve, congratulations. A great book.
Thank you, Mike. Rebecca Reimel, the president of the Pew Charitable Trust, has been the driving force in the development of a program at Pew for improving the conduct of campaigns. It's been influential. It's been genuinely constructive. This project is one piece of a larger mosaic of activities that we think Pew can be very proud of. Rebecca.
Thanks for those kind words, and particularly your kind words. I guess my test here tonight is a little bit about civility under debate. What Mike didn't tell you is that Paul Light, who's really responsible for this grant, is leaving the Pew Trust and heading to Brookings. And so I can say that I'm really proud of that as well, and congratulations on extraordinary colleague. I was thinking as I was writing down here on the train what these 5 words have in common. Graciousness, respectful, self-effacing, humble, kind. And then I paused and I said, absolutely nothing when it comes to our public life. And you know, that's a sad statement, but it's true. I was born and raised in the South, and in fact, we were educated that manners really do matter. Civility, courtesy, conduct count. They count for a lot. And that's what this book tells us. Sometimes, in fact, whether we were reared on Emily Post, if we're prepared to admit our age, or Miss Manners, we understood that etiquette is about setting standards for both public and private life. In fact, many people strive to lead in public life and in other ways, and with those positions come power and privilege and also responsibility to tell us that maintaining standards for civic life, for our conduct, are indeed important. And I think this book goes a long way in doing just that. You know, when we think about respect, we think about what it means to ourselves, to those we care about, to colleagues and critics, and most importantly, to those we serve. And in fact, that's what you're teaching us about. Steve, we congratulate you. It's a wonderful, wonderful piece of work, and we are truly honored to have been part of it. You were the person that took the risk. This was not an easy project, and we are very much in your debt for making us look so wise. You know, we're also taught that, in fact, one can do very well by doing what's right and what's good. I know it's true. I've heard it all my life. I think the American public knows it's true. And I think that's what they're asking from all of us who have the lucky position to have some influence in this great country of ours. So thanks for showing us the way, and congratulations.
Thank you, Rebecca. Now, next week, another important book is going to be published. It's edited by Robert A. Katzman. Its title is Daniel Patrick Moynihan, The Intellectual in Public Life. One of the lines from one of the chapters in this volume, I think, is the perfect way of introducing our host for the evening and the person whom we will hear from next. It's by Michael Barone. It reads, Daniel Patrick Moynihan is the nation's best thinker among politicians since Lincoln, and the best politician among thinkers since Jefferson. Pat Moynihan.
Justice Ginsburg and Senator Thurmond, who's been so kind to come. I may be that, but I should tell you, I've been having a bit of a personality problem from the time last spring we were taking there was a state dinner at the White House, and I was taking daughter, My wife would never go to one of those again. And we went through the round of Secret Service checkpoints and finally reached the west entrance to the White House. And a young Secret Service agent with a clipboard looked into the window and said, "Good evening, Senator Thurmond." Well, I'm going to work that out. Let me just give a bit of history here. In 1898, Bernard Shaw married Charlotte Payne Townshend, a wealthy, well-born Irish woman, and they were married for 55 years. And on her death, she left her very considerable fortune to a trust designed to teach manners to the Irish. Some people thought she had her husband in mind, but no, it was more than that. She said she wanted the teaching, and this is the will, of self-control, elocution, oratory, and deportment, the arts of personal contact and of social intercourse. Shaw's biographer, Michael Hollywood, wrote that she was very serious about that. In a long life, she had been given many opportunities to observe, and I quote, it's quoting her, "The most highly instructed and capable persons had their efficiency defeated and their authority derided by their awkward manners, by vulgarities of speech and other defects and easily corrigible by teaching and training as simple as literacy, and how the lack of this teaching and training produces not only much social friction, but grave pathological results." Now, as you can see, it's worked wonderfully in Ireland. And we will now see whether it can be worked out here. In her splendidly concise introduction to the book, Judith Martin concludes, "Now here then is a rich mix of rules of etiquette and ethics, morals and manners, prudence and fairness, the stuff of civility." And here next is the very embodiment of those qualities in this city under presidents, universities, colleagues in this room. We had one thought as the day developed, as the moment approached, which it seemed that for just as a matter of good luck, sort of wishing it out, this morning we had a flag flown over the United States Capitol for Steve Hess on the occasion of the publication of this magazine. Oh, yeah. I'd like to present it to him in the hope that he has some success with us.
Oh, yeah, I shall.
That's for you.
I might not be here today if Judith Martin had been a little franker with me and told me what a rough business this etiquette business was. Last week, for example, a reporter from Atlanta called to say that there was a great outbreak of candidates pulling down their opponents' signs. And what was the etiquette? And I put my signs, and I said, yes, the etiquette is if it's on public property, it's all right to pull it down. If it's on private property, leave it alone. And suddenly I said, oh, what have I gotten into? Becoming an etiquette maven. Is there no exit? At any rate, Daniel Patrick Moynihan and Liz, who with grandchild today, but is the co-host of this evening, we have been bonded, the three of us, for more than 30 years. 20 years ago, Beth Hess joined us. We've celebrated some very good times together. We've gone through other periods together which were not as happy. This is certainly a happy one, not only for the little book of etiquette, but as Tom said, because Next week, there will be an important book about Daniel Patrick Moynihan, edited by Bob Katzman. The week after, there will be an important book by Daniel Patrick Moynihan, Secrecy, which will be published by Yale University Press. So it's a special honor for my dear friend to have hosted this party for me. Of course, for Brookings, for Mike Armacost, our president, for Tom Mann, the director of governmental studies, for Bob Katzman, who's the acting director while Tom was on sabbatical this year. It is a marvelous privilege to have such colleagues. My friend Dave Barry wrote a column a while back, and he mentioned Steve Hess. He said he's a Brookings. Brookings is a think tank. He says that's where you think during office hours. It's a great pleasure and privilege to have been able to try to think for 26 years at that wonderful, wonderful place. I'd like to, of course, thank Judith Martin for contributing what is a beautiful introduction. I should say it was her destiny. She could not escape it. And the reason for that is that in 1934, when Brookings was on Jackson Place, it had a place for residential scholars. Her father, an economist, lived there. He had a friend that he met there, another economist, who had a sister who he introduced to. The rest, of course, is history. Judith Martin owes her very being to the Brookings Institution, and I'm glad. And we have for her, as Pat Moynihan says, a flag as well. Your very own flag. Rebecca and the Pew Charitable Trust. This, of course, we thank you for your financial support, but there's really much more to the story. I will make a confession. This book was not my idea. It was not my idea. This book was the idea of Pew Charitable Trust and, of course, Paul Light, who she's mentioned before. I mean, and the idea that they thought of the need for rules of conduct for politicians during campaigns, for those journalists who would cover it, and sought the writer that they wanted to produce this and put it all together in a collaboration that I hope is not so unusual, but I rather think it is between a foundation and an institution. I'm very grateful to have been part of that collaboration. There are some other people I want to thank. Bob Faraday, I see him here, the head of the Brookings Press. Brookings puts out some books that some people must read, about 40 of them a year. This very, very handsome little book that he's put out is a book that we hope everybody will want to read, and we thank him for the beautiful job that he and his staff have done in producing the little book of campaign etiquette. I should say, because Brookings is very proud of its accuracy, that there is a typo on page 56. Barbara Streisand has her first name misspelled. We apologize to Miss Streisand, and in the second printing, we will take out the A. Now, I really have two people I'm very, very happy to have here with me, and I want to say something about them. The first who gets a prize for coming the longest distance is Eloise Levitt Hess, who, where is she around? Eloise Levitt Hess is 3 years old. She has come with her parents from Los Angeles, and she is going to get a book, and she's going to find in this book tomorrow when she wakes up 27 wonderful cartoons in black and white, and she's going to take her crayons and she's going to truly improve those cartoons. For instance, here's a cartoon that I'm sure she's going to want to work on. It's in the section on bias. It has a man in his trench coat with the Capitol behind him, a microphone in his hand, and he is saying, That concludes our bias conjecture. Now back to Dan for more shameless editorializing. You will have a lot of fun. The nose, particularly, a little red, would be perfect for that, Eloise. And finally, there's, by the way, there's one other person who came from Los Angeles who needs my thanks. Charlie Hess, her father, a graphic designer, has contributed a web page on the campaign etiquette. It's quite wonderful. You can learn lots of things. You can get in it through many ways. One is by going through Brookings and then Scholars and then Hess and so forth, and you come up with all sorts of wonderful information that he has put in on campaign etiquette. We are very grateful at Brookings for that special contribution. And then there is the person to whom the book is dedicated, if he happens to be around. And it reads, for Nathaniel Cody Hess on his first birthday. And where is...
Here he is. Here he is. Get them while they're young, huh, Steve?
And there he is. And so, clearly, this little book is especially for Eloise, for Nathaniel, who we hope will grow into and be part of a far more civilized society than we are leaving them at the time. As Judith Martin said, let's cut it out right this minute. Let's know what's good for them and start behaving like civilized human beings. So that's what we hope we're going to be leaving to Nathaniel Cody Hess and to Eloise Levitt Hess. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming. Please stay.